But
Yeah.
when you look at your life, because I often will, look at all the different things that I've done in my life. I've done like so many different things. And I used to feel bad about it because people would say, well, you don't stick with something very long. And I used to feel bad. I'd be at something 2 to 3 years, and then I would really need either something else, a different challenge within what I was doing, or I needed to do something else until I realized, oh, well, that's the kind of, I'm a starter like you are, right?
Mhm.
I'm a pioneer. I'm not a settler. And so, there are so many people out there in the world that I think still have a mindset that, we've got to just pick something and then that's who we are, rather than actually live the life you lived, which is I'm going to keep exploring opportunity that comes my way. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to choose it for different reasons that work for me. And there's a lot of freedom in that. But when I look back where I was going, when I look back at all the things I've done, I have a theme in my life.
Mhm.
And the theme in my life is this. Like, people said, how'd you come up with this? I said, I think I was born with this heart to love well and do good things in the world. Like, that's all the things I've been attracted to are that, whether it's nonprofit or for profit, it's I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to be part of the transformation of people in the world. Now, I couldn't have articulated it like that
Right.
for a really long time, right? Until I looked back. So, and I think you're kind of like that, but I don't want to just, tell you what the theme of your life is. But as you look at being a kid, what you were interested in, going through school, going to college, wanting to, kind of be this explorer, where you are now, what would you say? Because that's the why. That's the why of who we are. It's not what we do. Why do you think you're like that? I mean, what is it inside of you that you want to? I mean, you have had to press forward in some pretty difficult situations where other people would have just quit and said, I don't know how, or I don't have the money, or whatever. And you just kept going. So, what is it about you that makes your identity unique in a way that has allowed you to do this or has compelled you to do this?
Well, you said a lot of things there that I could tee off on. I think the uh, kind of the overriding sense is I've not necessarily been a contrarian thinker just to be an aggravation to other people, right? But I question, why are we doing things like that all the time, even if something's working well? And and I've told my team a number of times that um, other people have careers that they think are secure, but it's just like it's an illusion. There is no security in any career, and all you have to do is ask somebody that's been with a large corporation that's been laid off before, right? So we get these comfort zones or these illusions of security that feel good to us as humans, and sometimes I think there are just people that are wired differently, and you're one of them, and I'm one of them, and it's really the uh, uh, sort of the DNA I think that God put in everybody. There are certain people that the idea of them following a career path like mine would be they think that that's total insanity. Where I think about their career path, and I think that I would have felt stifled or in some sort of prison. And that doesn't mean that my career path is right and theirs is wrong. It's just different for different people. And so I heard what you said about uh, changing stuff, or changing careers every couple of years, and really I think that people like us get a label. It's usually not a good label, uh, and other people just can't really understand, why you can't stick with something like that. And I remember in the consulting firm when I was there, it was a Friday, and there was only one other person in the firm there, and I was in the copy room, and she came up to me and said, I've been meaning to tell you something. And I'm like, okay. She said, yeah, you're just not ever comfortable with in doing anything the same way, and that makes it really hard to work around you. Um, and it was like this, I don't know, just something stabbing in my soul at that point, because she was absolutely right. Um, what she didn't have any knowledge of is that the firm was using my commissions at that point to make her payroll and everybody else's. And of course, I didn't share that with her because it really wasn't the point. But when I went to the firm, they had so many obstacles in the way of a dentist being able to say yes to services. Um, in fact, it started really early on, just in the evaluation. It was like, hey, if you can't fill out this amount of paperwork, then you're not worthy of us even coming out to evaluate your practice. And I thought, that's insane. Um, Most of that a doctor will fill out and be incorrect on anyway. Like, we pull better data out of their own practices than they can. So let's just go pull the data that we need and fill in the rest. And that was one of the things that she was referencing, because she was on the delivery side of things, and so she wasn't getting big packets of information that made her world secure. My point to all of the fulfillment people was, um, I don't know that my job is any harder than yours, but I can tell you this: once a dentist has paid us the amount of money for services that they have to pay us, they will tell you anything that you ask them. Whereas on the front side, when we're trying to get them to agree to services, um, sometimes it's difficult to get them to part with that kind of information. So, but now we've got them in program for 2 years. Feel free to ask them any question you want to. They'll share it with you, and I'll give you the best handoff I can. So I'm a little bit off of your question, but the um, the way that I would kind of answer that is that, uh, probably back to the contrarian thing. I've always just been like, why? I mean, it is my, um, just somebody tells me that they do something, then I usually come back with, oh, and how do you do that? And then they tell me, and then I'm like, why do you do that? And it's more the curiosity of why they do a certain thing the way that they do it. And I think that's always been like a driving force for me. Is I am, um, not comfortable with just, standard. This is why we do this thing, and I will always look to see, well, what if we did this a little differently, or this, or whatever. And uh, inside of my company, it works because I've people are more flexible because they've been around me, but it can still be confusing. Um, I don't think there's, like, we have stuff going all around us in dental. It's changing rapidly. I mentioned the margin compression earlier, and a lot of people that work in this space are just like the frogs that are in the pot of water that the temperature gets turned up on very slowly, and they're not seeing the challenges that dentistry is facing today. It's not the same. It's not the same space as it was just a few years ago, and so, um, I don't know. I think I just see those things. Of course, we've done a lot with personality profiling, um, and that's part of us getting people into their top left and understanding the way that they're wired. We don't use it to pigeonhole anybody, but and we use a cross section of assessments so that people really can learn more about themselves and why they react the way that they do. And I'm not in the dental business. I'm not even in the general consulting business. Whatever business we're in is always just a people business.
Mhm.
And it took me a lot of years. I'm 57, about to be 58, until I was 55, for me to realize that the worst thing that I could do to another human is project onto them the way that I think. or the way that I would react to something. And the worst thing that they could do to me is the same thing, because we're all different and we're wired different, and it takes different people. And so our organization would be horrible if there were like 10 of me running around in there. Like, we'd all be fighting for changing this and changing that. And so realizing the value of what everybody brings to the organization, and then really setting them up for success and putting them in a position where they are given their highest and best use is not a money thing. It's like, how much do they enjoy coming to work here every day? And I keep believing that if we do this thing right on getting people in the right positions, that they feel like they're adding the most value, and we get our services right, where we're doing the things that we love and we're great at, and we stop doing all the stuff that we're not great at, that the dollars will follow. And so it's probably the biggest change for me as a somebody that's really driven, is I don't know. You see the bull back here? Like, it's on my shelf for two reasons. One of the first reason is every time I get up from my desk and see it, it reminds me not to run over people. And and then the second reason is there's a proverb that says, like, where there's no ox, the stall is clean. Um, but there's much strength that comes from an ox. And so the point being is there's two sides that I can bring to that same thing, and one of them is going to be a little messy and it's going to make the stall dirty, but a lot is going to be accomplished from that. In so doing, my role is really not to run over people, but to slow down and try to do a better job of um, sharing vision. Why are we doing the thing that we're doing? What is really motivating to us? And I would say that the biggest difference, I am going to go into an EOS thing here, entrepreneurial operating system thing here, but it's not to criticize that. I think we were that kind of company for 2 years, and we learned some good things from our 2 years in EOS. But we have a mission and vision today, and in EOS, it's kind of a core focus. And recently, I put the core focus from EOS juxtaposed to our vision and mission today, and I ask everybody, just tell me how those feel. And the why people are here and doing what we're doing is aligned with the mission and vision today, and not the core focus. The core focus was a thing. It was a thing we could do to make money. The mission and the vision that we're after is where everybody on my team is connecting with their own why. Why are they here? What do they love doing? And again, it's not paying off for us yet in terms of big dollars, but we are a live petri dish, and we have learned a lot about organizing people into to teams where they get decision making power, and they can learn to work together with each other, and that's a really hard transition. It's a transition everybody wants. It's a transition that everybody struggles with, because when uncertainty hits, you want to go back to the things that worked before, and people who you're no longer telling them what to do suddenly want to be told what to do again. Like, it's a little, the earth's moving under my feet. Can you tell me what to do? I'm like, hey, what do you think to do? Like, you have a lot of experience in this space, and that's why you're here. That's why we trust you. So you tell me, and that's, I think, freeing and frustrating at the same time. And so we have been working through that, and the for 2 years, and you've been a big part of um, our journey from industrial age thinking to participation age thinking to really what we have uh, taken is another leap off of participation age and just to acceleration age, and that's because I think the participation age was something that my team immediately felt um, the environment shift, and that this was something that they wanted to do and be a part of, and we were kind of left with a lot of the questions around, well, how do we actually make this work? And so in acceleration age and using the assessments, and most recently using AI to help communicate with each other on critical conversations and the things like, it's interesting because uh, I've taught the team for multiple years now on the um, truth and love quadrants, and uh, nobody wants to be in the quadrant where there's no truth and no love. That's absolute chaos. Um, and then nobody really likes being in the all truth and no love. That's just really harsh environment. And but people hang out in a all love and no truth environment, in a false harmony environment, and then you get dysfunction of a different sort. And so really living in the truth and love quadrant is the most attractive to everybody. It's just difficult when you create an environment where everybody cares about each other for people to be truthful, because they don't want to hurt somebody else's feeling. And so that's the biggest place where, and we've taken some off the shelf AI and used it to help people create um, the kind of conversations that are critical and important. And instead of Doug telling Sandy, um, this is what I want you to hear, I can tell AI what I want Sandy to hear, and AI is smart enough to put that into a way that Sandy wants to hear it. And then Sandy can put back to Doug in AI what she really wants me to hear. And I take no offense when it comes through, because I can just dump it into my AI and I can get the essence of that. And so we're moving much more quickly through difficult situations and addressing those things really quickly. And I think that's a big win. I mean, of everything that we've done, not everything we do produces money, but what that has done is produced a better working environment for the people that work around here, and it's a huge win, and that leads then to better productivity, I believe, right? Because people are having the conversations in the way that they need to have them, and saying the things that they have held or withheld because they don't want to hurt somebody else's feelings. So I don't know. I'm rambling. I don't know if I answered your question, but it's just just the inquisitive part of me is wired that way to create the path, and I've done a lot of assessment. I've done like 11 or 12 different assessments, and they all are kind of confirming, but also revealing some other part. And so I know that um, when I think about strength finders, one of my top five is a maximizer, and it's always been there. And I can look back easily and see that from a really early age, the kids on my street were older than me, and I was organizing them and leading them, and say, hey, we could go do this, and really trying to pull the best out of everybody. And yeah, I've done that since single digit age, and so. Um, but you don't see that necessarily clearly at that age looking forward, right? You see it really clearly when you look back, and so um, I would uh, I would be kind of startled when, like, teachers in my high school would uh, vote me best all around. Like, I don't know what are you talking about? Like, I I do whatever I want to, and I don't really focus on any one thing. And so I thought that was pretty interesting, because even then I was hearing, like, you need to focus, and I've just been set free from that. Like, I went on sabbatical a few years ago, and I can't find the verse. I think I finally found it, but I came across a verse that basically said, "Be free to be you." Like, I didn't make you to be like everybody else, and you can walk and chew gum at the same time, and you can hold cognitive dissonance, and you can ask these questions, and do something with it, and your path doesn't just not going to look like everybody else's, and that doesn't make you any better or any worse, but definitely doesn't make you any worse. So stop listening to that, right? Stop listening to the people that just tell you to focus on one thing. I'd be miserable, really miserable.
And
So
you wouldn't be as impactful in the world. I don't know where I heard this many years ago, that the world doesn't like anybody on the far ends, right? Doesn't want a loser and doesn't want somebody that's just so highly successful. The world wants to create mediocre people. And I think that's part of the certainty thing, right? Like, if we're uncertain, we're going to be closer to one of those far spectrums, because we're going to live in the tension of discovery, right? Like, so you told me an explorer. Well, that makes sense. And then you told me maybe law school. Well, good lawyers have to be good explorers for the most part, right? You have to be able to dig in and uncover things, and go down paths that other people wouldn't, to be able to discover what you need to for whatever you do in that particular career. But I think about the many people out there that have been told what you were told, which is you just need to focus, or you just need to figure out what you want to do and do it. Well, why aren't we saying part of who you are is you're going to do a lot of different things in your life? You're going to explore a lot of different things, and you are going to have an impact, and you're going to make a difference, because you have a heart that wants to care about people and love people, and so that whatever you do might be disruptive, but it's going to be disruptive for a good reason.
yeah.
And when you talked about, when we worked together around participation age, and by the way, those of you listening, that term comes from Chuck Blakeman, who wrote the book Making Money's Killing Your Business,
Phenomenal book.
and great books. And we have business
Feed my
clubs.
life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one-on-one consulting that we do. And one of the things that Chuck always says, which is, I think I always thought this way, but he really codified it in language, which is, we want to be adults coming to work. Well, adults come to work and they have who they are and their own opinions and their own experiences. But what we've done in the industrial age is to tell people, oh, no, we need you to be children and come to work, right? Because we're the adult, so we're going to tell all of you what to do, and then you're all going to do it. Like my 6-year-old grandson, who, by the way, doesn't do what I want him to do. He and my Belgian Malinois, they're like, oh no, if you're not a leader, we're going to be. So I just love that we get to impact the business world, and hopefully even the nonprofit world, to say, what if we turned that upside down? So, little story, Tom and I had dinner with a couple, and they are part of a team of pastors in a church. And they invited us over, and we were just talking about, like, our history, because all of us had been, in that nonprofit world, in church planning world, or church organizing world for a long time. These people still are. Tom and I feel like our work with God is out there in the world doing this kind of stuff. But one of the things he talked about was really knowing the people and what they wanted. And I'm like, yes, for the first time, because my vision has always been, in a company or an organization as a leader, if I'm interviewing you to come into my company, I want to do the best job I can to find out who you are and what you care about doing. And that's my job, is to help you live that out. That's not how most companies operate, or most organizations. Most of them say, this is our vision and our mission. Let's see if you fit into it. And that is important, right? Because, the business owner is going to be the one that drives the vision and mission. And I'll just say, and if the person also takes into account that all of these people have that inside them too. And so, how can it be a both and, like Jim Collins talks about the genius of the and or the tyranny of the or, right? How can it be an and thing where we get to do this thing together and we also get to support you in doing what you care about, which is how my whole Love Well by Doing Good thing came about, is because for so long I have just said, business can do so much more than just make money for the business. Business, the vehicle of business, can impact the world because there are people here who care about things beyond just making money. I mean, you have to make money, because you need the resource to survive, but it's a lot more exciting to make money when there's something much bigger after that you're looking at, both as a team as well as individuals. I think that's the thing that, if business owners and people can get a handle on, that's why I do what I do, then the hard days they're still hard, but there's just something beyond it's only hard in the moment. It's hard because that's the thing I care about. And so I think, you're a person who, maybe you didn't articulate it that way, but you've been about that. And part of your experience of wanting to change things and being curious and saying, well, what if we did it this way, is you're willing to try a different recipe. You're not going to make spaghetti sauce the way every time. You're not going to make chocolate chip cookies maybe the same every time. I recently made them and tasted the dough and went, what is wrong? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot the sugar, which is bizarre. I would not make cookies without sugar. But the reason I want to ask you about that is because one of the things that we did along with consulting, Chuck and I consulting with Mesh Dental, the dental side of things, around moving from an industrial age to a participation age, where we're helping everybody understand they bring their adult self to work and we're all adults and the mission's the boss and there's no boss, there's no dictator over. I'm maybe a benevolent dictator, sometimes a leader. You just still have to lead. But and then we moved into this course, that one day I was like, I want to teach businesses how to do this. I want to help consult business owners and organizations to really think beyond just shareholder profit or profit for the company or success in terms of, where they stand amidst other companies, and look at what else could you do if your why was bigger and your why was together. And so we went through 8 weeks or 9 weeks of the Love Well by Doing Good course, which was, I love that it was you, because you were willing to experiment, and many other people would be like, no, we're not doing this. And I love that you took your whole team through it and what we all learned in doing it. And so would you be willing to talk a little bit about that? And I'm not looking for a plug for me, but
Yeah, no,
I
I
want to
think
talk about the impact that can happen when we do this. So
no, I think it's a really important thing for anybody watching this to understand. So I'm going to back up a little bit, Sandy, and as you were talking, I was just thinking, like the essence of all of that is that I am a believer in Jesus, and prior to Love Well by Doing Good, I sort of kept that over here to myself, even though I brought it into business, right? I didn't make it a big deal in business. And so part of the freedom that I got in going through the course with you was, well, hey, I get to be my full 360 person at work too, right? And that didn't mean that you have to be a Christian to work here at the company at all. Everybody knows that. But even the people that have worked here that are non-Christians appreciate the fact that you can be whatever you want to be here, and because we're interested in the person. That's kind of the my biggest takeaway from everything that we've done together. For me, was I just got the freedom to be me, as opposed to driving for some sort of outcome. And of course, we're not a nonprofit. We're not allergic to profitability, and we need to make money to stick around and still do what we do. But that's a big part. And so, but rolling back, while you were talking, two things hit me, like a proverb that I've held on to for a long time, and this kind of explains a little bit of how I'm okay to do this for a little bit, and that is, uh, we make our plans, but God directs our steps, and I can see that so clearly. Like, okay, I wouldn't have been nearly so effective at a dental consultant position if I hadn't done the work that I had done previously, which had nothing to do with dental at all. But I had business consulting, I had financial planning, and I had run an organization that was fast growing. And so, like, I got to bring all of that to bear in dental consulting. And I don't say this like to brag, but nobody sold more dental consulting in that firm, including the founders of the firm, than I did. And mostly it was because of sort of that 360 that I had coming in. And it was just this development, you know, learning way more post college than you ever do in college, right? And it's just like, how do people really think and react and do the things they do, and why do they do them, and that sort of thing. So the other proverb that's just kind of sticks with me is, it's to the glory of God to hide a thing, and it's to the glory of kings to discover it, right? Um, and so I think that's part of my explorer thing. It's just always appealed to me. Like, wait a minute, there are mysteries of God. Yeah, and you can find them all around you. You don't have to wait till Sunday. Like, they're here every day in works. Like, oh, we just discovered something here that's going to be impactful to us as a company. And so I'd go back to uh, Chuck's book, "Making Money is Killing Your Business," and how impactful that was for me. I had the book. Somebody referred me the book, and I listened to it on vacation. I just recently found out that when I got back from vacation, and I called, I was supposed to be talking with Chuck, but Chuck asked Sandy to take that call. And so that's how I met Sandy in 2022 or three. I can't remember what it was, maybe 23. Um, but then I actually worked through a lot of the exercise and realized, like, this is the sabbatical. Before that, I had gone out to the woods and worked on EOS Life, which was really the biggest thing I take away from that is I want to be doing things uh, that I love, with people that I love, making a huge difference, being compensated appropriately, and have time for other passions. Um, I think that's one of the best things that's come out of EOS for me is in the woods. I'm like, I want that. I don't have it. I'm the business owner, and I get paid last. I'm certainly not being compensated for the work that I do here. I'm basically working my tail off to make sure that everybody else gets paid. Uh, I do kind of love what I was doing, not necessarily the way that we were doing. So why am I doing business this way? Why don't I just shift it up to do it the way that I want to do? And then let me make sure that I get people in my orbit that I really love doing this thing called work with. So even before Making Money is Killing Your Business, I have that deal. Then I get to Making Money is Killing Your Business. I meet Sandy. We start exploring what participation age coaching would look like in the firm. It scared the absolute dog mess out of certain people in my company to think that
Create so much uncertainty, which already exists, but we just
yeah,
pull it out.
like, wait a minute, nobody's the boss. And then I think it's real important for me to go away every summer and go on these sabbaticals where I'm just I don't. I used to go with an agenda, like, I'm going to get this thing done. Most recently, in the last 2 years, I go with no agenda, and I just, like, okay, what do you want to download into me? And so actually, prior to you creating uh, the Love Well by Doing Good program, I was already heading there. And so when you mentioned that to me in the fourth quarter of 24, I immediately said yes, because that just was an alignment piece for me. And then I remember you saying, well, I'm trying to get 8, 9 business owners together. And like, well, could it just be my leadership team? And you're like, yeah, we could do that. So we went through together as a group, and then uh, learned so much more about each other, going through that process, and getting alignment around things that really matter. Um, and uh, uh, and it changed really our core values. They used to spell out effect as an acronym, and the T we changed uh, from transparency to truth and love some time ago. This year, we just moved all of those around because I'm. Well, actually, Dana is the one that moved them all around, because I just wanted to say, look, let's take love and put it first, and then truth. And I'm like, I don't want to redo the entire core value thing, so just put it in parentheses. Uh, It'll be still truth and love. Just in parentheses, say in reverse. And Dana's like, let me just work on that for a little bit. So our core values now spell out lantern, and the L is for love and truth. And so we just elevated that thing to being the first thing that we talk about instead of the very last. And it changes the way that we approach each other in the company, clients, vendors, everybody. Um, that difficult situations, if you run it through the core values, you're going to come with love and truth, and then accountability, and then never settling, team and togetherness, excellence, resource, and needle moving. And that one's so new for us that I still have to look at it. Where effect, I just knew because we had used it so long. But that spells out lantern, and our role, and what everybody can really get around here is to light the way for the people that we're serving. And that goes all the way to selling. Is we don't really want to sell anymore, we just want to serve. And if we're doing something of value, then selling doesn't feel like selling, it feels like serving.
Mhm.
So an integral part of all of that um, is love. Love well by doing good really challenges you to say, like, can you really bring that into the business world? And um, and I can say, just like moving from industrial age to participation age, that's a big cognitive load for everybody to carry, because you're used to doing business a certain way. Um, and I found the way that I'm wired, it's really easy for me to carry that. Like it's like the things that are the frameworks for our business are always top of mind for me. And so I find myself just reminding people, um, hey, well, if you were to make that decision and run it through our core values, how would it change? Or if you were to have that conversation with somebody, running it through the core values, how would you say it differently? And you always see a little bit of a pause, and then they'll it'll register again, and they'll we've had some of the most interesting outcomes when people just slow down, take a breath, and then think about, like, um, why, if we have a difficult situation, why do we have it? What's going on? It's usually based on somebody on the other side of that having some sort of fear that they're facing, and then the secondary emotion is anger. So um, because I feel threatened or I feel fear. And so let's just bring some peace to the conversation and let them know that we're interested in making that right and dealing with that, whatever that might be. Um, and uh, and so I think it's really the DNA of the company, and it's a it, it's growing daily in it. It's not, oh, that sounds great. I'd like to do that tomorrow. Like, I would highly suggest that you start tomorrow. Because when was the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time? Today, right? Like if you want to do something that's meaningful and have a team around you that is rowing in the same direction, then if you make the why something bigger than just, we do this to make money, um, you'll have a team that weathers a lot of difficult storms. And so, um, yeah, I wish I could sit here today and tell you that like all of this has worked out beautifully and it connected this way and this way and this way, and we're a multi-million-dollar company and all of that. But I can see the through line again, looking backwards to know that I'm exactly on the path that I'm supposed to be on. And we've grown tremendously, and we have growing pains still, and we have a light at the end of the tunnel. But one of the one of the things that came out in your course with us is do we have a team why? And and so again, fourth quarter, before we went through that with you, I had already gotten to this place where I think what I feel called to do is for every client we get that we would do some free consulting for two clients, and we have our first two betas that we've done that for, and I will tell you that there's not anything else I work on that brings me more joy than working with them. And it's been 100% complimentary to this point. And and I've had people saying to me, "Why are you giving that away? A workman is worthy of their wages," and all of those things. And I'm like, "Yeah, I hear you, and I appreciate you looking out for me, but I am following something that I've heard, right? And something that I've heard is like we're moving into this uh, realm of general business, and we didn't really have any general business testimonials, and now I have two that are really amazing, and so uh, it's not a marketing ploy, right? And like I think that's the thing that somebody could easily look at and say, okay, um, uh, you know, what a great way to market your company. For us, it's meant loss, right? Like it's meant time without any compensation in return, but we don't count all the compensation that we get in terms of dollars. And we've made some huge differences in lives, and I think a couple of marriages.